Hello and happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday. Thank you so very much for tuning in to 98.3 FM, The Life. You're listening to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. And of course, I'm your host, Marty Jalove. I come at you every single Monday night at 7 o'clock to talk about your job, your career, your vision made clear, the skills that you hone for the business that you own, the ups and downs, the smiles and frowns, where you're at and where you're bound. If you miss any of today's episodes, definitely tune in later in the week to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness, anywhere you listen to podcasts. As you know, I always on the quest to bring you the best, and it doesn't get much better than this. I've got my two boys here, Luke and Nate and Luke. Guys, you want to say hello to the world?
Hello to the world.
There you go. Nate, got anything clever to say?
Oh, never.
Good. Then that worked out perfect.
Yeah.
All right. I love that. All right. This is going to be an awesome, regular, awesome show. So today, no surprises, right? Today's a legitimate show, correct?
Of course.
All right.
Of course.
Good.
Oh, it's nothing but seriousness.
Exactly. Glad to hear it. Okay. So, for those of you who've just tuned in, this is Bacon Bits, what we talk about just about anything. It used to be something specific about leadership, salesmanship, just leading towards happiness. And so sometimes this show goes off the rails, especially the second Monday of every month. I'm here with my boys and we talk about some amazing things. So this year we've been talking about some of the legendary leaders in the past and what we can learn from them, what current leaders or wannabe leaders can learn from them. And last month, we were going to do Shaka Zulu, the warrior king known as the Black Napoleon of South Africa. We were going to talk about him. You didn't know that? That was you.
I didn't know that's what he was called.
Yeah, that's what he was. I just made that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. So that's what he was called. And so we were going to do that last month. I love the looks on your faces. So anyway, they hijacked the show and we did a special birthday episode to one of the greatest leaders, salespeople, and marketers of all time. That is me, Marty Jalove. But back to this. So this week or this month, we're actually doing Shaka Zulu, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
yes, we are.
Are you sure?
Yeah, exactly.
Marty,
Right.
we've been meaning to tell you.
Yeah, that's what I thought. All right. So anyway, what I wanted to do is I'm going to throw it back by one of you guys. We'll see which one of you guys would like to start this off. Tell us a little bit about what you know about Shaka Zulu. Let me try to learn how to speak again. Why would we pick him as a legendary leader, and what are some of the things we can learn from him as current leaders?
Well, just to speak to the legend of Shaka Zulu, I know that his reign, and I did a lot of research in the wake of and right before last month's episode. He expanded his domain. What was it? It was like from 1,000 square feet to like over
I think
10 times that.
Yeah. So, I think 100 times that or something like that. It was all of South Africa. It was like half the continent.
Incredible. And I think as far as I know, that's like the most someone had done in that region, at least.
Yes.
Like just truly working at like uniting people and bringing together communities and inspiring people as a leader.
Okay. All right. And Nate, what do you have to say about Shaka Zulu?
Well, like I always like to say, Luke bakes the cake, I put on the frosting.
Nice. You got any frosting there for us?
I do, actually. So something that really popped out at me about Shaka Zulu was he was this just dynamic leader. He drew people to him, brilliant mind, everything. But what a lot of people didn't know is he was actually born as an outcast. So he was born out of wedlock, which was against Zulu customs. And because of that, he was just ostracized, forced among other clans and all that. And so that's what kind of forced him to kind of build his self-reliance and his intelligence and everything like that. And as someone who grew up sometimes in adverse times, I found myself, I'm actually really able to relate with that because I was in certain situations like in life where I was like either being bullied or not respected or whatever. And I was like, well, if I put myself into a leadership role, then these people have to listen to me. And so that's kind of been my journey through the years of like, okay, if, going from kind of being a little bit of an outcast or the odd one out or all that to trying to become a dynamic leader and figuring out what people need to follow you and all that. So I think it's just a really interesting, just kind of like character arc for him.
Where he came from.
Right. It wasn't like he was born into royalty or money or anything like that. Like he had to build everything that he had. And it really speaks to his character and ability to lead people.
I love it. I love both of these points you made right away from the beginning. is this idea that he united all these people together and he rose from nothing. I mean, he's definitely the epitome of that idea that you don't have to be born into it. You can go after what you want and you can convince people to follow you. Now, there are plenty of stories about how he convinced these people to follow him and how he attacked neighboring tribes. But in the end, whether it was war and people were killed, obviously people were killed, in the end, they all followed him. And that's an enormous accomplishment, such a large area. So much so that I was doing some reading, and there's very little bit of Shaka Zulu himself fighting the British. Okay. It was some of the tribes that he united did this. He had they fought the British, but he had a kind of a relationship with them because the Brits were a little afraid of him because he had so much power. And so they tried to negotiate with him and stuff like that, but he could only handle so much of that. There was something to the effect that when the Britons were moving into this area, what they said was, hey, we'll have some peace with you. Everything will be okay. But we want one of our people to be here and make decisions on how you run the Zulu nation. And he was like, nah, I don't really need you. Okay. So I just love that whole idea because when you think about this, at that point in time, now he was born in 1787. Okay. And at that point in time, as he grew into this, the Brits had muskets, right? They had a little bit more the right type of artillery that to fight the Zulu nation had really spears, and we'll get into this short weaponry with shields made out of animal hides and things like that. So you think about how he was able to take that. He had mass numbers for sure, but he had inferior weaponry against a somewhat superior group that was trained in the art of military, right? And so it was really interesting that he was able to do all of this. And I just can't, I'm going to repeat what you said, Nate. He came from nothing. He came from a position that if he had just given up, everyone would have said, that's what we expect of you.
Right.
Right. It's you came from nothing. You have nothing special about you. There's no reason or no way you're going to rise to power. And not only did he rise to power, he became one of the most famous people, probably one of the most famous leaders for that area in that time. And when you think about it, it wasn't all that long ago. According to my work here, he died in like 1828. Now, 1828 was a while ago, but in the grand scheme of things, when you think about this, when the United States was created, that was in the 1776, right? And so at that point in time, this was a nation built in South Africa. It's amazing when you think about what was going on around the world.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys, I'm sure, Nate, it looks like you have some fun facts about that. Luke, do you have any fun facts about Shaka Zulu? Because I'd like to pepper the discussion in with a few of those.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm sure you know this, Dad, what the name Shaka means.
I do not.
It was a beetle or like a parasite.
Okay.
Like an intestinal parasite. And the story behind that was, and this again ties into this idea that Shaka Zulu was born and raised kind of on the as a marginalized person, as someone on the outside. His mother claimed at first that the pregnancy was, it's just a parasite I have. It's just like some intestinal bloat I'm dealing with. It's not actually a baby I'm having. And turns out it is a baby.
Yeah,
it's a child born out of wedlock.
Right,
and
right.
I think that's cool that he has this name that inspires such awe, Shaka Zulu, but it really just means it's like it's like ringworm.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's somebody named ringworm nowadays
like
might not
ringworm America.
Yeah, right. It might not exactly make it to the top. Yeah. All right. So Luke, while I got the camera on you, I wanted to pick your brain on this one.
Sure.
So you brought up this idea of him being able to bring all these people together. So concentrating on that, what do you think we could take away from his ability, and this is just your opinion, that a modern leader could use? Like, what are some of those things? Obviously, it appears to be necessary to align people along your way of thinking. But what are some things that you would say it appears that, for a modern business, a modern leader, this would be something worth knowing?
Well, it's
I know I threw it at you.
Because you kind of, I think, there's only so much we know about Shaka Zulu, the man,
Yep.
because I don't think a lot of this did get recorded.
Probably
So
not.
it's harder to point to specific things he actually did because we only know so much. We have pretty much outsider perspectives on a lot of this stuff. But it's just this general idea that he was he was incredibly persistent.
Okay. Yeah.
There were things he did. He pushed these troops forward in ways that other people in his time and in his setting were not doing.
Right.
And that's a lot of what caused his success. That and keeping his mind open and having new ideas. But it's hard to, say just have new ideas.
Right.
That's
right.
difficult to.
But I
say
like
as
what
a
you're just
piece of
saying. Be innovative, and also, but constantly be the one pushing. As a leader, you can't really give up on it and say, "Oh, what do you guys think?" I want to take the day off.
Yeah.
Okay. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy who just took the day off. Okay. No. One of the things, because you had mentioned this, is I was watching a little video about some of the stuff that they did. And one of the neat things, because I'm not there, was he would make all his warriors fight barefoot. And they would run around outside barefoot all the time because his thought was, I want your feet really, really tough that you can run on any terrain. And he got to the point where his warriors could be running 50 miles a day to fight. And so that's why most of the people he had to go up against were never that strong. And unfortunately, they said what I was paying attention to was if he had people in his tribe, his initial tribe, as you kept growing, that would give up and say, I can't do this. I can't do this. There was no, okay, well, you'll go get a job somewhere else. No, they were just killed.
Right.
Okay. So he wasn't necessarily the most empathetic guy, okay, at that time, but he realized what needed to be done. So he made this unbeatable team. It reminds me of the stories you hear about the Spartans, that we're going to make you the toughest warriors we possibly can. And so what happened was when they'd go and attack another tribe, his people were so built up, so ready to realize I survived everything. I can definitely survive this fight, take over a weaker tribe. And then he would do the same thing with that tribe, push them to those limits and keep doing this. And I think as much as it's awful when you hear about that, like push them to the point of going, if you don't succeed, I'm going to kill you. I mean, it doesn't get much worse than that. But imagine the people who survived and followed him at that point, how they were like, I am the best that I could ever be. I'm living this warrior's life. That he instilled this motivation, this inspiration in them, that they were like, this is incredible. Nothing can stop us. And that to me is one of those things. I'm not telling any leaders to go out and threaten your employees with murder. I'm not saying that. I don't think that really works so well anymore. But instead, come up with a way to inspire them, to teach them that when you are part of this clan, when you're part of our tribe, when you're part of our business, you are the best that everyone expects, right? You are better than what people expect. You are invincible. Nothing gets in our way. And as a leader, if you can inspire that, what an incredible thing to do. So, Nate, what have you got to say about this?
No, I think it's just a really good call out in the sense of just for leaders inspiring a team, telling your team that you expect them to be the best, and then telling them that they are the best when they are, right?
Yeah.
Like, so for me, I manage a small team, and we are competing with different teams across the nation, just in KPIs or just basic things. But I make a point to tell my team, like, I understand that I have high expectations, and I know even sometimes, my lower level managers would be like, "Man, Nate, you were like getting after it today," like, and I'll be like, "Yes, because we are the best," and inspiring them. And it's kind of that mindset of like negativity and kind of having a little bit of a loser mindset can be infective, right? It's easy for people to do it, but stronger than that is people wanting to be on the winning team. Like most human nature is you want to win.
Yeah,
right.
Of course.
And so if you have somebody in the front lines leading and shouting, "We are the best," and then showing the team not only that they're the best, holding them accountable, but also teaching them how to be the best and what's expected of them, you can build such a strong team. And you instill that in your team's mindset of like, Yes, we work a little bit longer hours. Yes, we have higher standards than everybody else. We look around, we don't worry about what everybody else is doing because we're not everybody else. We are the best team.
I
And
love
so
it.
it's
I love it.
kind of motivating that. You can't kill them anymore. You can't threaten to fire people, but
No.
you can motivate and use that idea of being stronger and better and faster and smarter than everyone around you. And people want that. People want to be part of that team. And other teams look at that and go, man, I want to be part of whatever they've got going on over there.
Yeah. And you know what? It's really interesting when you think about it, the correlation of what's going on with Shaka Zulu here and the company you're working with. You're talking about the same thing, that what you're doing is you're expanding and you're moving forward. You're trying to grow. You are trying to move across the country or trying to move into different directions, as opposed to saying, let's just stay in this one spot. So I think that's really powerful to learn from somebody like Shaka Zulu and the way that he did this, that sure, there was ultimatums, but he also gave his people the tools and they understood the goals. This is what we're planning to do. I'm going to give you the tools to do this and the constant inspiration and the motivation to say you can do this. And this is exactly how every business can succeed, especially if you want to expand and grow and move forward and move out from your very specific area. Okay. So what I want to do, guys, is I want to read the B.A.C.O.N, the B.A.C.O.N. Today, because I have a feeling as we're talking, we're going to be jumping from letter to letter, and I don't want us to necessarily be tied to one piece. I want us to be the adaptability. All right, they're jumping right to that. So B is going to be this for Shaka Zulu. The B.A.C.O.N we're sharing today is B is bold innovation. All right, we're going to talk about some of the things, some of the war principles that he came up with, some of the ideas that he came up with, weaponry he came up with. All right, in order to accomplish his goals. A is adaptability, having to understand that, as you expand, you're going to have to change the way that you fight, the way that you grow, the way that you lead. C is condition your team. This is when we talked a little bit about how you continue to build it and motivate and inspire your team. O is oneness of purpose. He wasn't shooting all over the place saying, hey, let's do this and let's do this. He had one goal, and that was to unite the entire Zulu nation. All right. And of course, N is going to be never settle. All right. He was never going to give up. He was just going to continue to go at it over and over and over again. All right. So with this, I want to talk a little bit about this bold innovation, the B. All right. And so one of the things was we just talked a little bit about how he conditioned his people, and we can get into that. But just that idea that he pushed them to say, you are warriors. We're not a village of hunters and gatherers. You are warriors. And our plan is to take over as much area as we possibly can. Right. So he built them, and he said, and this was innovative thinking, to say, we are going to go to war with neighboring tribes to continue to grow. And not only are we going to go to war with them, but then we are going to unite with them and bring them under our fold. Okay. Now with that, he has gotten two different things that come up with the bold innovation. One is the, I think it's called the buffalo wing or
the bullhorn.
Bullhorn. Yeah. The bullhorn, the bullhorn idea.
Classic.
Yeah. Which you see so many times in other warfare. And it was beautiful about the idea. The bull when he would attack, he'd attack just like a bull, straight forward. It seemed like it was an incredible force coming at you, but then the horns came out and he flanked his fighters to the side. So he started to encircle who he was fighting, and they didn't understand what to expect. And behind this thunderous, front line, okay, knowing that these people, there's a very good chance the majority of them would die. I mean, they're running up against another tribe, right? Yeah. Behind them was another strong force of fighters. Okay. And so as he grew, he continued to do this. And he realized, probably studying warfare long enough, realized that if I just go at them face to face, they could end up flanking us. Not even on purpose, but just finding a weak spot in our line. Okay. They could end up flanking us. So instead, we're going to purposely split our group. Okay, go right at them, flank them, and attack them from all sides, confuse them and scare them. All right. And that to me is just incredible. All right. Now, I want to throw it by you guys is using the you said it was the buffalo horns, right?
Bullhorn, yeah.
Bull horns. There you go. The bison horns. Okay. Using that tactic of coming right at somebody, okay, and let's say as a leader, but also flanking, coming around the sides, and also having enough support behind you to continue with this. How could a modern day leader? What do you think? Would you liken that to? How would a plan if I'm running my business? How could I mimic that with my business? Because obviously, I'm not going to just flank my competitors. But in that term, I'm not going to put people around me, put people around. But what are some of the ways I might be able to use that tactic? Anyone got some thoughts?
I think it's kind of similar to the idea of delegation in general.
Okay.
This idea that you have X amount of things you want to get done. See that as your fronts in a battle.
Okay.
Where you say, okay, this is the main thing I want my team to work on. So I want to be behind this because this is the thing I think is really most important for us to work toward.
Gotcha.
But, in order to get the upper hand on this, I need this done and this done. You can sort of see that as the flanks.
Okay.
You say, okay, I'm going to send some of my people off to do this and some of my people off to do this. So in that way, I think you can adapt that military technique into some form of technique.
Yeah, no, I love actually the where you're going with that is that whole idea that you're right is you've got one focused ideas, but there's multiple ways of attacking that same idea.
Mhm.
Okay. And although this is where I'm sitting here going, let's say I'm going to do social media or something like this to really put my name in front of people. I have to also take a look at going, if that's all that I do, I could lose out. So instead, I need some other things. I need some publicity. I need some goodwill or something else, just to come around those areas to do some additional things, all with the same goal in mind. And then what was nice, the fourth piece was that additional resource in the back, ready to fight, ready to come in, which is important because I've seen a lot of small businesses put everything they have into one thing. They go, oh, we're going to get all our business off of Yelp. And they put all their resources into Yelp and then realize we can't do this. So they don't realize they need to surround themselves, expand in different directions, but also have additional resources. Don't put everything in one area. Okay. Nate, you got anything to add to that?
So I've got a little bit more kind of granular or like dialed in.
I like it.
Thought to it, but I was thinking very specifically in the form of sales, right?
Yeah.
So you've got your sales team. Your sales team is head on. But oftentimes in business, you will see a disconnect between sales, operations, and then either product development or customer success or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so if you can unite all of them, and so you have your sales team meeting head on with the customer and really just being the head of the bull. But then if you can coordinate bringing in as you get to a little bit further stages of the sale, bringing in your operators, bringing in your research and development team, and using them to supplement what the sales team is saying. Because I can't tell you how many times I've sat in a sales meeting, and I was in one last week where the salesman came in and she was telling us everything, sunshine and daisies and roses.
Sure.
And we're all sitting there with our arms folded going, sure. But she had with her one of the software engineers.
Okay.
And she was able to volley to her. And that woman was incredibly knowledgeable. And so you've got me and the other operations team sitting there going, yeah, we're not impressed. Congratulations, you're a salesperson.
Right.
But having the support of the engineer being like, yes, I can tweak this. No, I can't tweak that. Yes, this is what you're looking for, and here's how we can do it.
I love that.
Really is kind of important. So when you think about it from that approach, having the horns of the support, because most people who've sat in on a sales call or whatever, the salesperson is going to tell you whatever you want to hear. And so it's like I'm always sitting there and okay, let me talk to somebody who's actually in the operation, who's actually in the field fighting the fight.
Right.
Can it do what I'm being told it can do?
Yeah.
And so I think it's good to supplement it that way.
I love that. That's a perfect comparison. This is really good. I love both of these because it's sometimes, anyone who's listening to the show is a leader, salesperson, own a business. They're going to go, yeah, that kind of stuff is obvious. But I want you to take a moment and think about it. Is it that obvious? Do you see the importance of it? Because it's one thing to say, yeah, I understand the connection. I understand. And we already do that. but understand how absolutely important it was. This methodology helped this guy conquer half of a nation. I mean, an enormous place, right? And so it's the exact same way that a small business has got to attack their marketplace. They've got to attack their competition. They've got to reach out to their customers by doing this way. It can't all be just all out one direction, because that's a surefire way to lose.
Right.
Okay. Excellent. So another piece of military innovation that he did, the bold innovation in B, was the short spear. Okay. And I really love this idea, because at first when I was reading about this, I was like, okay, so he built a short spear. What did it, like a long spear break? And he said, just use the short one. Okay. Whatever the deal was, when the more you learn about it and you realize the spear was so cool for long distances, to be able to throw a spear from a long distance. But once you throw the spear, it's gone. Now all you've got is your shield, right? And you're still charging the enemy, who now can pick up your spear. Okay. So the idea of him saying, we have this short spear, okay, longer than a knife, okay, but it was something that it was more hand-to-hand combat, getting up really close. And I love this, because so many marketers, what we do is we say, oh, we want that business. Like, oh, if I promote on LinkedIn, maybe I'll get some business. If I promote on Instagram or TikTok, I'll get some business. And that's like throwing this long spear. Like, we'll just throw it out there and we'll see what happens. Okay. But the truly successful ones grab that short spear and get up really close, find out what needs to happen up personal, knocking on doors, making phone calls, doing things like that to really change the atmosphere, understanding what your customers need, understanding what your employees need. Okay. And there's a big difference then. Let's just throw it out there and see what sticks, as opposed to let's get up close and personal and really make some changes here. Now, have either of you guys ever experienced anything with whether it's the companies you work with, the people you've talked with, companies you've purchased with, that you would say, oh, I see some correlation with this, that, yeah, they've done really good at this and poorly at this? Go for it, Luke.
Yeah. And, likening anything I've ever done to Shaka Zulu is always going to feel a little like,
a little shy,
a little like a false equivalent.
Yeah.
But what I'm weirdly reminded of with the short spear is like seeing some other people's customer service, in particular coworkers I've had who are a little more like socially anxious or socially awkward.
Okay.
I see how they speak to customers, and I always feel like I catch them doing things where they're just oversharing information. They're sharing every single part,
wow.
And for my job, it's a very simple thing.
Yeah.
It's not a technical expertise we have. We're not mechanical engineers. So I feel like in that way, that is my weird way of relating to the short spear, is saying, like, don't hit them with every single thing at once. Tell them what actually matters to them right now. Get them there. And if the other stuff comes up, get to that later. But focus on the here and now. Get to them directly.
I like that. I love the fact that you've even noticed that with your people too often, because what they do is they feel like, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. All right. This is just give them everything, which is that whole just throw the long spear and let's see what happens, as opposed to asking those qualifying questions, digging into it a little bit more, and then giving them exactly what they want. Along those same lines, I talk with all these people, and everyone's done this. You call a company and you get the voice message on the phone that says, if you'd like this, press 3. If you want this, press 4. If you want this, press 2. You click that, and then it's like, if you'd like to speak to a human, press 9. You press 9. Okay, what type of human would you like to speak to? And all of a sudden, you're like, oh my God. And what happens is that's the company making it easier for them and forgetting about the headache they're giving the customer. They're not thinking of the customer experience. So we're going to be right back. This is already the bottom of the hour here. We're going to play a couple of quick messages from some of the other shows here and some of the people who love this station. And then we're going to be right back with more Shaka Zulu, believe it or not. And we are back. Thank you so very much for staying tuned in to 98.3 FM, The Life. You're listening to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. We've been talking a little bit about, this is part 4. This is April already. So January, February, March, April. We've been talking about leadership here. And this is going to be a year-long thing. The second Monday of every month, we're going to be talking about legendary leaders and what modern-day leaders can learn from them. So today we picked a very interesting one, somebody who probably doesn't get enough credit or is not heard of enough. And so, Luke, I'm so glad that you were the one who picked him. We're talking about Shaka Zulu. And the bacon for today, what we talked about was B is the bold innovation. We talked about his short spear idea, the bullhorn idea of encircling the people during warfare, and how you could use that same type of tactic in business. So I want to jump into this, and that's going to be A is adaptability. All right. And think about this is, again, for Shaka Zulu here, for his tribes, you're looking at crossing the entire nation, right? Fighting all over the place. You know, the terrain is constantly changing. Every time that he ran into a new tribe to fight them, he didn't know exactly what to expect. He didn't have Facebook to look at their Facebook page to find out, like, oh, this is how these guys fought. But one of the cool things that he did, going back to B, was after he conquered a tribe, he would spend time looking at all their weaponry, see how they build their shields, see how they made their spears and stuff, and see what he can learn from them to adapt better to the next fighters, the next fighting. So he was, as far as adaptability, he was great at that, as far as just jumping in there and saying, every opportunity to fight, every time I got in a skirmish, a battle, I can learn something from this. I was going to say that he would say, win or lose, I can learn something, but he never lost a battle.
Wow.
Isn't it amazing? He never lost any battle he was in. He never lost one. So you think you'd get one under your belt. They were like, yeah, that was a rough one, but no, he never lost the battle. I guess the only battle he really lost was when his like stepbrothers or half brothers killed him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was,
if
that
you
was,
can call that a battle.
Yeah.
Then,
Exactly.
Yeah, he lost that one.
Right. That's why I don't have my brothers on the show. I only have my sons.
No.
Okay.
It's a safe bet.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So as far as adaptability, what do you think for anything that you do? All right, Luke, at work, on the stage, on your writing, Nate, at work, in life, on the ice, whatever. How would you say adaptability? What does adaptability play in your life? Either one of you.
Adaptability is huge. I mean, you think about the biggest topic right now is AI.
Yeah.
Right. And just in business, but also in life, like, you don't want to be the person, and you think back to the people who, I think of my drivers who had a flip phone or never really moved on.
Wow.
With getting updated with the times. So like, I have a phone for making phone calls, and that's it. And now a good portion of what my company does is on your cell phone, be it training apps, be it your time card, be it payroll, anything like that. And so to be kind of behind the times because you were resistant to change or thinking, this won't affect me, I don't need this. You want to always be pushing. And kind of my advice to everybody is get to know AI.
Yeah.
And get to know it fast. I mean, AI is going to be, to my and Luke's generation, what Excel was to the higher one. And like,
right.
And like, as we were talking, and even like my head of operations and I were talking, and he said, in the next couple of years, I'm not going to be asking anybody if they know how to use Excel. I'm going to be asking them if they know how to use AI, because anything you can do in Excel, AI can do it for you.
Yes.
10 times faster.
Right.
And, there's still the checking it and understanding it and making sure the data is correct, but it's
right.
It's that adaptability. Never let yourself stop being relevant. And I think it's important too, just for people to think of that in the sense of, as you are growing older, as you retire, just because you are retired or no longer in the workforce, you don't want to kind of take your foot off the gas in learning, challenging your mind, adapting and growing, because it is that quick that if you're not, your mind is a muscle, and if you stop using it, it is going to deteriorate. And so just always being open to change, new ideas, doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but at least understand them and be aware of what's going on around you.
I love it. I'm with you. I'm a little bit older than you two guys. I think I'm older than you two guys combined ages. I like it. You looked at each other. But I try to really lean into adaptability. I'm always looking at something going, what's the next thing I can learn? I was just talking to a friend of mine who's older than me, and I told him, I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of missing out on something, like the next new thing. I'm going to go, oh, if I could have just lived one more month, I could have learned that. How could I have used that? How could I have used it to teach someone something? And so I love embracing AI. And I wish I could even know more about it. I'm learning something new about it all the time, but it helps me get so many things done quicker, so that it frees me up for other time to do some of these other stuff. And we were talking a little, Luke, about the creative part.
Mhm.
I don't want AI to take that away from me. What I'm doing right now is once I perfect an area, okay, and most businesses, I always tell businesses, once you get to a point where you're able to do something, let's just say 80-90% right, and this is just, you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, then it is time for you to hire somebody to do that for you.
Right.
Because you should be the innovator continuing to move forward, right? If you're doing the same thing, if I owned a business and I was doing the exact same thing over and over again, and I knew it backwards and forwards, then I have a job,
Right.
not a business, right? So as soon as you learn how to do something inside and out like that, and you know exactly what you want out of it, hire somebody. Now we live in a world where the person I hire might be an AI program to do that mundane task. Like you were bringing up Excel. I can do certain things in AI that I couldn't do before. Okay. In the 5 years since Master Happiness started in 2020, okay, the things I was doing then by hand versus what AI is helping me do are absolutely incredible. Okay. So it's helping me adapt. I have to adapt to the new technology. Otherwise, I'm going to be buried. Somebody else. I love the quote that said, AI is not coming to take your job. Somebody who knows AI is coming to take your job.
No, that's absolutely it. I mean, it, as crazy as it sounds, someone who is proficient in AI versus someone who has maybe a higher level, degree, like they're gonna go head to head, because it's like, just because you know how to do it, can you translate it and can you get it done quickly? Because it's gonna come down to speed.
Yep.
If you've got two guys one's gonna spend half a day creating a heat map and analyzing a bunch of data, or you got another guy who's going to understand how to prompt AI and have it done in 30 minutes for you. I mean, it's going to be the difference in the world.
Right. And so I'll tell you, for me, I looked at this, and AI is different than any other revolution we've had like this. But I remember being a young graphic designer, and we would do everything with film. We would shoot film, take pictures of ads and stuff like that with film. And then when digital publishing came about, I remember talking to guys who were like, that's not going to catch on. I'm not going to do that. I'm sticking only to film, right? And I remember typesetters where they would type all these programs in there, typing point size, all this information, flush right, flush left, all this kind of stuff in there amongst the words they were typing. And I remember looking at this going, wow, I missed the computer generation. Like I'll never learn how to do this. And then all of a sudden it became easier for people. We got the WYSIWYG idea of what you see is what you get, right? And all of a sudden everyone was able to do this. And I thought, wow, this is reborn. And I was able to prosper from it because I was a creative individual. Then we got hit with the desktop publishing of everyone can do this. And everyone had access to clip art and all this other stuff. And just like Canva now, everyone says, oh, I have a Canva. Why do I need to hire a graphic designer when I can do it myself? And that will come and go. And what happens is the brilliant people, the creative people, the out-of-the-box thinkers are saying, yeah, this is just a new tool. It's a tool that everyone can use, but I use it better than anyone else. Right. And we're going to continue to grow. It's just like saying, why do we go to a restaurant to eat when I have pots and pans and I have groceries and knives and forks at home? I could do all that kind of stuff, but I'm going to go to enjoy someone else doing it for me, someone who does it so much better than me.
Right.
Okay. And so AI is just another one of those incredible tools that we have to harness to do the best job at what we do.
And it's moving fast.
Oh my God.
I mean, I think even like conversations we had, because you were right out in front of it when it first kind of came out, and I was sitting there going, this isn't going to be something like that. And now I'm using it daily at work, and I was like, I don't even understand how AI is going to relate to what I do. And now I'm dumping in Excel sheets and rocking through it on a daily basis.
Right,
So,
right. And so it goes back to the whole term adaptability.
Right.
We can wish it away. We can say, I wish it wasn't here. Okay. But it's here. I always, think about the first time an automobile pulled up in an old Western town and everyone's like, what would I need that for? I have a good horse. Right. And the horse will be, you're never going to replace the horse. Right. And suddenly what ended up happening was, no, that first automobile probably wasn't good enough. It was clinking and clanking, right? They were like, we have to keep adding fuel to it. But it was somebody could see the vision. Somebody could see, what can I do with this that's better than the alternative, the thing we've always done. And so AI is that same thing. You can embrace it and say, how can I use this to do my work even better? Right. So that's the beauty of the adaptability. And so nobody was as adaptable, it seemed, as Shaka Khan. I just wonder what he would have been like if he had AI. I said it. Oh, no, it was about time. All right. That's good. So that was good that you caught that. I'm sorry I said Shaka Khan. I meant Shaka Zulu. All right. So let's get into this letter C right here. And that is condition your team. All right. And I think this is what it gets down to. I always talk about this idea is, as a leader, I've always got to look at my team, and it's these three things. And I say it like this. If you want to get a good team, if you want to get them to get it, it's GET, get. And that's, you got to give them goals, clear goals that they understand. You got to give them empathy, because they're human beings, and sometimes they're going to succeed. Sometimes they're going to over deliver. Sometimes they're going to fail. They're going to under deliver. And then T is the tools. You have to give them the tools. You can't just give them a goal and say, make it work. All right. Now, Shaka Zulu was just the epitome of that. I mean, maybe not as much empathy as I would have liked. Okay. But the idea was that he had a goal set, that this is what he wanted to do, conquer the whole unite the Zulu nation. He gave them the tools by learning what other tribes were doing. I have to believe that he was at least empathetic with these other tribes to say, I'm giving you the opportunity to join with us, but you have to follow our rules. Okay. It's not the same empathy I'm going to have with my employees. Okay. I'm going to understand that you're going to slip and make mistakes. You're going to be sick some days, and you're going to be like, I can't come in. I understand that. You're going to have difficult times. Things outside in the world are going to affect you, and are going to affect your performance. You're going to make mistakes. We don't live in a time where the answer is, then if you do that, I kill you. That's not the times we live in right now. But what do you guys think about? Think about leaders that you've had in your life. And it could be anyone. Could be a boss, a teacher, a mentor, anyone that you say, I think I admire them because they definitely helped me set goals. They gave me tools, or they introduced me to tools, and they definitely showed me empathy. Or maybe you say, I know a leader or a mentor or someone in my life that I would say the complete opposite. They didn't give me those things.
Well, as you'll recall, Dad.
Yes.
I went to a school, or a program for film.
Yeah.
In general.
Yes.
And I remember I had to write a lot, as that was, that's one of the things you do when you make film, you screenwrite.
Right.
And I remember, like, near the end of the program, I was in like one class, and I was still like, man, I don't know what it is, but my scripts just don't look right. Like, I was like, there's just something off about them. And I was like, oh well. And then at some point, one of my teachers stopped me and was like, so do you know the basics of screenwriting, of like screenwriting format? And I was like, no, I sort of thought I'd learned that.
Yeah. At film school.
And
right.
He was like, okay, well, clearly no one's gotten you there, or no one's corrected you. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take some time on the side, and I'm going to go over this with you, because you deserve to know. And I think that helped me so much to just like, have him sit down and do that for me. Obviously I should have had it by then, but the fact that it was not part of his immediate job in that situation to do that.
Yeah.
But he still said, you deserve to know this, and I care about you knowing this enough that I'm going to take the time out of my day to show you what you need to do. I'll always appreciate that he did that.
No kidding. And you talk about the exact definition of what I'm saying is he had a goal set in mind. You're going to learn this. I'm going to help you learn this. I'm empathetic to the fact that you haven't learned this, right? And I want to help you with this. And he was giving you the tools. He was teaching you this. So you think about that. That was just perfect. And this is what I mean is those three things that if leaders are always questioning themselves and saying, how do I become better? If you lean on those three things, just that, setting goals, showing empathy to your employees or your team members, and then giving them the tools so that they can succeed. With that and regular communication, I got to throw in communication because you can't just throw that at them and say, see you in 6 months, see what you did. But the regular communication on top of that, you're going to have a winning team, or you're going to find out the people who can't succeed very quickly. All right. Nate, it looks like you got something on your mind.
Yeah, no, when we were acquired about 2 years ago, the company brought in a consultant, which they later actually hired on as our head of operations.
Okay.
IT. And I just remember them coming in and kind of, everything was super hectic for me. I was going from working for a 90-year-old family-owned company where everything was a little bit more Stone Age, a little bit more just kind of laid back. I mean, we didn't have an HR department. We didn't have everything of the corporate world. And I was really struggling to navigate kind of what my role was, what was expected of me, just kind of as things were going around. And they really just took the time to kind of, as I was getting different tasks assigned to me, helping me set goals, taking the time to not only understand, my skill level, I cared, but like really getting to know me as a person. And then they've continued just over the years to help me and be a trusted source where I could go and be like, how would I pull this, or how would I do that? So like really giving me, just kind of helping me set goals and learn how to set goals and be realistic and time frame and everything like that, showing me empathy and understanding, like, I was at one point running like my hair was on fire, and then also helping me show me the tools, but also how to find the tools that I would need for that. And I mean, I think a big part of, the development that I've had as a manager over the past couple of years, I credit to them and them just taking that time when nobody else would.
That's awesome.
Everybody was kind of doing their own thing. So I really appreciate that. And it's something where now as a leader, as I'm kind of bringing my team along, it's looking at that and kind of helping them, follow that same path.
Perfect. And so I just love the fact, I mean, I've got countless leaders in my past, countless mentors that really did that to such extent. When somebody calls you out, focuses in on you and says, I want to teach you something special. There is something that's just so amazing about that, to feel singled out, like this person sees something in me. And I don't, you don't want to let them down. Okay. You want to suck up as much information as possible. And I think it's amazing because every leader should learn how to do this. Every leader just got to go out there and push it just a little bit further. Have that open communication with as many of your people as possible. All right. Don't leave anyone out.
No.
And just make them feel like they are special. And this gets back to the basics of this. When we first started talking about Shaka Zulu, when we first started talking about it, we're talking about this idea that he inspired and motivated his team, pushing them onward and making them feel like they were something amazing. I was just reading this other thing that he had these celibacy orders. Okay. You talk about a motivational strategy that he said, you are not allowed to be married or have children. Okay. Not at all while you were a soldier. If you proved yourself in battle and you were a great warrior for us, then and only then would he allow you to be married, and you were married one time and that was it. But you had to prove yourself. And so this was that great piece of motivation. That was the prize you could end up winning. Okay. Was that whole thing. And so when, that he, in order to do that, he was really watching his people. He was pushing them to be their best and giving them motivation, giving them the tools, giving them the push they needed to do something amazing. And so I think it's really important is to find what your people need, what they want out of life. All right. Because it would be great to say that everybody who works for you wants the company to succeed. Like they live and breathe the company. That's not a reality. We all have other lives, right? So find out what it is that they want out of life. See how you can help them fulfill their goals while fulfilling the company's goals. Show them how if you work really hard and become better at this company and do a better job, you will grow and prosper, and you will be able to realize your own dreams by helping the company realize our dreams. Okay. And that was that whole Shaka Zulu thing of going, if you want one day to relax and be married and have a family, that can be in your future. Just be the best warrior you possibly can be, and don't get killed. Yeah. Okay.
and I think an important point too, and again, this is something that we can't always implement in modern business, but it's just removing the distractions of the outside world.
Yeah.
Right? If you've got a guy going into battle and he's worried about, well, I need to make sure I make it home to my wife and kids. Or
yeah.
who's going to take care of them if something happens.
Right. Right.
Or, being distracted in the battle, you gotta, I mean, it's age is old as time. You got in a fight with your wife before going off to battle. Like, the focus isn't there, where if they don't have those outside distractions,
yeah.
and they have that piece to work for, it's really a brilliant strategy.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting when you talk about employees and trying to get them to leave their life at home and come into work. One of the things is that I read about was the power of a doorway. Okay. Oftentimes, and maybe when you guys get a little older, you'll experience, but sometimes you walk into a room, like you walk into the kitchen and you look around, you're like, what did I come in here for? Like, I know I came in here for something, and you turn around, you walk back out. It's because as you pass through a doorway, in your mind, you are leaving one world and going into another world. Okay. This is Marty in the studio. When I leave here, it'll be Marty outside the studio. Then it'll be Marty in the vehicle. Then eventually Marty at home, Marty in the bedroom, Marty in the bathroom, whatever it is, right? It's a whole different world for me in each one of those. And so you get your people to understand that, and understand that what you need to do is when you walk through the door of the company, as soon as you walk in, this is Nate at the company, right? This is Luke at the company. This is not the problems I have at home. This is not the time for us to dwell on those problems and, we got to do this and I got to do this and this will never work. No, I walk into another room. You view it as an escape from all those other problems. You view it as that nirvana. You've just walked into heaven. This is fantastic because I'm in a place where I get to do amazing things. I am in a place where they trust me. They need me. This is incredible. And when you're having a really rough time at work and things are tough, I always tell people, leave the room, go into the closet or something, the stock room, and go grab something. But realize I'm going through the door into another world. And this is the world I'm going to go, let it go. Turn around, come back through the door and say, this is me, a fresh start back in this room. Okay. Because if we pull the anguish from all of our other worlds in with us, we'll get dragged down. That stress is too heavy for us. So instead, you find those places where you just go and have fun. You guys know there's friends of yours that, whenever you're down, you can just be with them and you will laugh and you'll forget problems. That's because that's you in that world. And understand our brains are so powerful that we can control that. We can say, I don't want to be in that awful world. I'm going to change it. And I have the power to do so. So I'm looking at the time here. We're almost out of it. I just want to jump. The last two letters were O, which is oneness of purpose, which I think we kind of covered. And N is never settle. I think he just continued to do that. He proved he never settled. Shaka Zulu went and conquered the entire country.
Made sure his men didn't settle.
And made sure his men didn't settle either. Right. And it was always driving home the same purpose and constantly learning and growing like that. So with only a few minutes left, do either of you guys have any of the cool little fun facts that you'd like to share? There's a hush over the room. Okay. One of the things I was going to tell you was I learned that he was known to have this mental toughness, that he could hide his pain. Like he wouldn't let the feeling of pain affect him. He would never show that he was in pain to any of his men, any of his people. And I think of that going, oh, that's a tough one too. Yeah. Right. But when you are in business, right, and you're facing your team, okay, and sales are down, things are collapsing, you don't know if we're going to be able to make payroll the next pay period, right? You're looking at your team. You got to get them to work really hard. You can't say, hey, we're failing. We might not make it, because that's the quickest way to get them to all jump ship.
Right.
If there's nothing you can fix and you're going to miss payroll, you got to tell them. You got to be fair to these people. But you can't sweat everything in front of your people. They can't see you cry. They can't see you fall apart because you're the leader. And as soon as you give them that, if you walk into work going, "Oh, I'm hungover, man. I'm not giving it 100% today." That is giving all your people 100%, the chance, or that you give them the ability to say the same thing. Well, I'm not going to give 100%. It's okay to not give 100%.
Right.
Okay. You gave them that permission to do so. So instead, no matter how you feel, no matter what's going on in your life, you as a leader have got to walk in happy, excited, enthusiastic, energized, just ready to attack the day. If you expect your people to do that, you got to be delivering at 100% and be happy that if they can get to the 80%.
Right.
So Luke, did you get any other fun facts? No.
No. Well, I don't want to look at fun facts while you're talking. I want to hear.
I hear
what you
you,
have
and
to say.
I appreciate that.
Apparently, I didn't know this. There were there are names to all of the parts of the bullhorn formation. There's the chest,
Okay.
and then there are the horns. That's obvious.
Yes.
And then the large reserve were called the loins. And I don't know about you. I don't want to be on that.
I don't want to be on the loins. No.
But yeah, that's what it says. So
Okay. And
do
here,
with that what you will.
nice. I like it. All right. So here's that answer to something we talked about in the beginning. He was an empire builder. In just 12 years, he expanded the Zulu kingdom from 100 square miles to over 11,500 square miles.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
absurd.
Incredible.
That's crazy. That's just absolutely crazy. And he just did this. And this was the guy, Nate, like you said in the very beginning, he was the guy they counted out. He said he's nothing. He's not going to amount to anything. Okay. So guys, it is 8:00. The show is technically over. Who's our guy for next month?
Did you have one in mind?
I did not have one in mind.
Let's do.
I'll let you choose.
Yeah, let me think for 1 second. Let's do Otto von Bismarck.
Otto von Bismarck. I love it. All right.
Yeah.
Is he the guy who made that sweet roll? The Bismarck?
yeah.
That's excellent. All right. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. I hope you got something out of today's episode. This is Marty Jalove with Bacon Bits, with Master Happiness, and my boys Nate and Luke and Nate. Thank you guys so very much for being here. We come on the show every single Monday night at 7:00, but tune into the podcast, Bacon Bits with Master Happiness, anywhere you listen to podcasts. And these guys come in every second Monday of the month. So again, guys, thank you so very much.
Thank you, everybody.
And thank you. Bye-bye.